The old house on Willow Lane had been empty for decades, or so the neighbors whispered. Children on bicycles sped past it without looking, dogs barked when dragged too close, and real estate agents never kept the for sale sign in the yard for long. The paint had peeled away in strips, shutters hung crooked, and weeds crawled up its brick foundation. But when Matthew Harris saw the listing online, something about the photograph caught him. Maybe it was the strange symmetry of the windows, or the way the front porch seemed to sag with a kind of weary grace. Or maybe it was just the low price. Moving to St. Louis after his teaching job fell through in Denver had drained his savings, and the house was all he could afford. He signed the papers within a week. The first time he stepped inside, he noticed it. The house smelled faintly of cedar and dust, as though time itself had been trapped inside. The rooms were spacious, the floorboards creaked underfoot, and light filtered through high windows and narrow beams. But what drew him most was the door at the end of the upstairs hallway. It was unlike the other doors, taller, older, with black iron hinges. Its wood was darker, its surface marked with scratches that ran deep, almost like claw marks. The realtor had mentioned nothing about it, and when Matthew asked, she only shrugged. "Oh, that," she said with a dismissive laugh. "It doesn't open. Always been that way. Some old sealed storage space, maybe. Don't worry about it." But Matthew did worry. Every night, he walked past it, feeling the weight of its presence. It seemed to watch him, to pull at the edges of his attention. He tried the knob once, twice, dozens of times. It never budged. Still, he couldn't leave it alone. The first week in the house was quiet. Too quiet. Neighbors kept their distance, waving politely but never crossing into his yard. The nights were filled with silence, so deep it pressed against his ears. He tried filling it with music, with movies, with phone calls to his sister in California. But no matter what he did, his thoughts returned to the door. By the second week, he began to notice things. A soft thud from upstairs when no one was there. A shadow under the door when the hallway was otherwise dark. Once, when he pressed his ear against the wood, he swore he heard breathing. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, he received a message from an unknown number. "Don't open the door." His stomach knotted. He typed back instantly. "Who is this?" No reply. Matthew dropped his phone onto the couch, rubbing his temples. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe one of the neighbors had gotten hold of his number. But when he walked upstairs, the hall felt colder than before. The door loomed at the end, silent, patient. That night, he dreamed of it. He dreamed he was standing in the hallway, the knob turning slowly on its own. A whisper slipped out through the crack, low, urgent, impossible to understand. He woke drenched in sweat, his heart racing. Days turned to weeks. The messages continued. Always from the same unknown number. "Don't trust it. It knows you're listening. Stay away from the door." Each one sent a chill crawling up his spine. But the more he was warned, the more he wanted to know. One evening, unable to resist, he returned with a toolbox. He knelt by the door, working the hinges, prying at the frame. The iron resisted him, groaning in protest. Finally, exhausted, he sat back. The door hadn't moved an inch. But when he glanced at his phone, a new message awaited him. "Stop trying." His blood ran cold. Whoever was sending these messages, how did they know what he was doing? He considered moving out. Selling the house, cutting his losses, starting over again. But each time he packed a box, something inside him resisted. It felt like the house itself was gripping him, whispering promises of answers if only he stayed. The whispers began the third month. At first faint, a soft murmur at the edge of hearing, like someone speaking from the other side of a wall. Then clearer. "Matthew." He froze in the hallway, every hair on his body rising. The voice was low, tired, but undeniably real. He pressed his ear to the door. "Who's there?" Silence. Then, just as he turned away, the whisper returned. "Help me." He staggered back, chest pounding. The door stood still, its surface scarred and ancient. His phone buzzed. Another message. "Don't listen. It lies." Matthew dropped into a chair, gripping his head. Was there someone inside? Or was the house playing tricks on him? And who was warning him? He couldn't tell anymore. One afternoon, desperate for answers, he visited the local library. The archivist, an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes, helped him dig through records of Willow Lane. For decades, the house had been owned by different families, but nearly all had moved out within a year. Few left explanations. But one headline caught Matthew's breath. "Disappearance on Willow Lane, teenager never found." The article was from 1978. A boy named David Miller had vanished without a trace. Police had searched for months. The last anyone had seen him, he was playing in the Harris house. The same house Matthew now lived in. He copied the article, hands shaking. When he returned home that evening, the house seemed darker than usual, the air thicker. The door waited at the end of the hall. A new note lay on the floor, slid out from beneath it. He bent to pick it up, heart pounding. The handwriting was messy, scrawled in pencil. He trapped me. Don't let him trap you too. Matthew's throat tightened. His hands shook as he held the paper. David, he whispered aloud. The air shifted. The faintest breath brushed his ear. Yes. He staggered back, dropping the note. His phone buzzed again. Don't believe him. The two warnings collided in his head, leaving him dizzy. Who was lying? The boy's voice, or the person on the phone? Night after night, the whispers grew louder. The door rattled sometimes as though something inside was desperate to get out. Matthew's sleep vanished. He walked the house at odd hours, shadows slipping across his vision. By the 6th month, he was a ghost of himself. Pale, thin, eyes hollow. Yet he couldn't leave. Not until he knew. One night, during another storm, lightning flashing against the windows, he stood before the door again. His hands trembled as he gripped the knob. I'm opening it, he whispered. I need to know. His phone buzzed violently, screen flashing with one final message. If you open that door, you'll never come back. Rain pounded against the glass. Thunder shook the house. The knob was ice cold in his hand. Slowly, he turned it. For the first time, the latch clicked. The door creaked open. Darkness spilled out, thick and heavy, swallowing the light of the hallway. The whispers rose all around him, dozens of voices, layered and desperate. His flashlight beam cut through the black, landing on shapes. Shadows of people pressed against the walls, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. At the center stood a boy, no older than 17. His face pale, his clothes decades old. David Miller. Help me, the boy whispered again. But before Matthew could step inside, another figure emerged from the dark, a tall shadow, faceless, towering. Its presence filled the hall, a weight pressing on Matthew's chest until he could barely breathe. The boy's voice wavered. Run. Matthew stumbled back, heart hammering. The door slammed shut with a deafening crack. The whispers cut off instantly, leaving.